During week 233 of Brada's Branded Thoughts, where is the offensive coordinator search at currently? I know there's lots of rumors swirling, a couple more names on the docket that have been talked about this week. I think we're getting really close to getting an official announcement from Iowa. Could it come in the next couple of days? We'll see. I think more likely maybe mid next week, but I'll address the latest names on the rumor board, so to speak. Plus, an interview with 2024 Iowa receiver KJ Parker. The Illinois native sat down with us after signing in December. And of course, Iowa greatly needs help at that very important skill set position. We'll talk with KJ. All that coming up during week 233 of Brada's Branded Thoughts. This is from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core, click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. Week 233 of Brada's Branded Thoughts. This podcast, in case anybody didn't know, I've been podcasting under this name, this title, Brada's Branded Thoughts, this branded title for like 8 years or something crazy like that. Of course, this platform from the Hawkeye of the Storm has only been around for a couple of years. And I do appreciate everybody that watches, that listens each and every show. And of course, regular content over on the YouTube channel. We're known for post-game coverage with former coaches, former players. It's all a really good time. So even if you're a big football fan, and of course, football season is officially behind us, always news to catch up on. We've got spring ball starting in a couple of months, a little less than a couple of months. So that will be fun. Keep it locked right here. Be sure you're subscribed. And I've been promoting this for a while, but in the description of this video, click on our Facebook link. All right. And you'll go over to our Facebook page, click the like and follow button. Certainly helps. Even if you're not real active on Facebook, we're trying to grow that Facebook page. So please help us to do that. And anybody else that has Facebook that you know about, please encourage them to like the page From the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook. And I've been made aware that Facebook's had some issues when people search the From the Hawkeye of the Storm name. It's not showing up in the search option on Facebook. So please click the link, follow the link in the description of this video. Click on that link and follow our page on Facebook. Thank you in advance. It is much appreciated. So, week 233, we're talking about the latest on the offensive coordinator search. So, just a quick rundown or a reiteration of what's happened here over the last few months. We know going back to November, early November, late October, I'd have to go back and look at the exact date. Brian Ferentz was told he would not be returning as Iowa's offensive coordinator in 2024. Not a surprising decision. I think some people were caught off guard because of when it happened. It happened a little over midway through the season, but it was clear at that point under the leadership of interim AD Beth Getz, she's now the permanent AD, that Brian Ferentz was not going to hit his 25-point per game marker. He was not going to meet the contractual obligations that he agreed to following the 2022 season. And some people said, well, we should have waited things out. He wasn't going to hit it. And I think it is an awkward situation having him coach the rest of the year. You could argue maybe they should have just moved on, but it's also a weird dynamic with his father as the head coach. With all that being said, here we are in mid to now late January, still no announcement from Iowa on an offensive coordinator. Now, Kirk has danced around a number of candidates, all right? He's toyed with a number of high-profile names, Joe Philbin being one. We've talked about him in the past, the former Dolphins head coach and Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator, was contacted by Kirk Ferentz, can tell you that with authority. The problem with Joe Philbin, and I'm not saying he's not a great coach because he helped Iowa's resurgence during the early Kirk Ferentz years, really helped him up front on the offensive line. The problem with Joe Philbin, he doesn't have a real strong, storied history calling plays, and I think that's a big thing. Plus, he's not a quarterbacks coach. He's known as an O-line guru. Not saying that's the reason why I don't think Kirk is going to hire Joe Philbin, but that was a concern I had. Now, Paul Christ was a solid candidate because of what Kirk wants to run, how he wants to run the offense, a run-first oriented offense. And Paul Chryst has a very good resume, including being a successful head coach at Wisconsin following a tenure as their offensive coordinator. He was fabulous at Oregon State as their offensive coordinator. Paul Chryst was offered the job by Kirk Ferentz. He sat on the offer for over a week, eventually did not accept. And reports now that have come forward from the national media indicate that Paul Chryst is going to stay with Texas as an analyst. By the way, Joe Philbin currently is an analyst at Ohio State. So both of those guys are part of high major programs, powerhouse programs, albeit as analysts. So who does Kirk Ferentz move to? We know Ryan Grubb's not coming to Iowa. He's been a name that people have tossed around. Andy Ludwig was contacted as well. Hawkeye Reports' Tom Kakert confirmed that here to our show from the Hawkeye of the Storm, that he was contacted. It sounds like Andy Ludwig wanted to stay at Utah, so that was going to be off the table. And then after that, it was kind of like a reset for Kirk. Once he got word from Paul Chryst that he was not going to be accepting the job, I do think Kirk was caught off guard a little bit by that decision, and he had to kind of reprioritize candidacy and how he goes about this search. And there have been a couple other names that have popped up, one being former Bears coach Luke Getsy. Now, if you don't know much about Luke Getsy, Getsy played college ball at Pitt and at Akron. He went undrafted in 2007, according to his bio. He was a very good quarterback in college, didn't really do anything in the NFL, but he's bounced around some high-profile jobs as it relates to coaching. If you look at his bio, he just got fired by the Chicago Bears after 2 seasons with them. The numbers with Chicago were not great. When you compare it to the scene in the National Football League, they were bottom 20s as far as ranking is concerned in total offense and in passing offense. The Bears' struggles have been well documented in recent years, and it hasn't just been behind the offensive leadership of Luke Getsy. And some people have said that he's kind of been the scapegoat as it relates to the coaching staff there. But he has been moved on from his position there. It sounds like the Raiders were looking to hire him this week, or at least interview him this week. So I've not heard yet if that interview transpired, how that interview went. But the point is, Getsy is a former NFL offensive coordinator. He's coached at places like Western Michigan under the leadership of current Minnesota head coach PJ Fleck. He was also with the Green Bay Packers, just like Joe Philbin was. It's interesting looking at Getsy's resume. His coaching tenure at Green Bay was kind of parallel to Joe Philbin in the respect that he was coaching quarterbacks in 2019 through 2021, and Philbin filled in as the interim head coach and offensive coordinator in 2018. Oh, and by the way, Getsy was with the Packers as an offensive quality control coach and wide receivers coach from 2014 to 2017 when Philbin was off coaching the Dolphins. So kind of an interesting storyline there, but there are some similarities there, at least in those two guys' resumes. But the point is, he's been with the Packers. He's been with Mississippi State for 1 year as an offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach. And like I said, most recently, he's coached for the Bears. He also was a GA at his alma mater, Akron, back in 2007 to 2008. He also served as a GA at Pitt, where he played his first couple of years of college football. So that's Luke Getsy. We'll see what happens with the Raiders, but it sounds like the reports are right now that he's been contacted. I have not confirmed that from any source that I would deem reliable, but I've had a number of people ask me, Corey, why aren't you addressing the rumors? We've had so many rumors, so I might as well address them, but I still need to see it to believe it. I need to see an actual release announcement from Kirk Ferentz before I get excited about any name. Now, the other name that people are tossing around out there that has gained some steam is former Duke offensive coordinator Kevin Johns. Now, I did listen to a pretty extensive interview with Kevin Johns here in the last couple of days. This was an interview from about a year ago, and I was really impressed with Kevin Johns, just how he carried himself in this interview. He seems like a very humble guy. He's got a great resume as it relates to other really good offensive minds that he's coached with. A quick background on his bio, and you can find all this information over on the Duke Athletics website. He's coached at a number of places, played quarterback at Dayton back in the day, back in the 90s, and then went on to coach high school football, coached at Northwestern as a GA, ended up moving to Richmond, going back to Northwestern under the leadership of a couple different coaches, including Pat Fitzgerald, coached the passing game at Northwestern, was the passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach from 2008 to 2010. And then at Indiana, he coached under the leadership of Kevin Wilson, known to be a really strong offensive mind. He was the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, and wide receivers coach, 14 to 16. That's a heavy load for a guy who still was not real experienced at that level. He had some experience at Northwestern, but moved to a really efficient offense. Indiana broke a lot of records during the Kevin Wilson era. So a couple things about working under great offensive minds. How much credit do you give a guy like Kevin Johns for some of the offensive success, and how much do you just attribute that to, well, he was working under a guy like Kevin Wilson? Same is concerned in 2018. Johns got a job with Texas Tech and was coaching inside receivers and was the offensive coordinator for Cliff Kingsbury's Red Raiders. Cliff Kingsbury is known as a quarterbacks guy, and you wonder how much of that was his offense versus Johns' offense. Now, in 2019, he moved over, Johns did, to Memphis. Very efficient offenses with Memphis from 2019 to 2021. Johns coached quarterbacks and was the coordinator. And then in 2022, Johns moved over to Duke with Mike Elko, who recently took the job at Texas A&M and did not bring Kevin Johns with him. So that's why he's out of a job right now. It's not like Duke has been bad. Now, their offense was not great, did not light the world on fire last year, but Kevin Johns is given some credit for mentoring quarterback Riley Leonard, who is an all-ACC guy for Duke and is recently transferred from the program. Leonard ranked third in total offensive yards per game, third in pass attempts, third in pass completions, third in total points responsible for, tied for third in scoring, fourth in pass completion percentage, fourth in passing yards per game, fifth in touchdown passes, fifth in passing efficiency, and he set a bunch of school records as well with the Blue Devils in 2022. Now, keep in mind, I mentioned Johns came from the University of Memphis. According to his profile, Memphis was among the top 5 in the AAC in scoring offense during Johns' tenure. They averaged 30.1 points per game. During his final year coaching that Memphis offense, they finished second in the AAC in passing offense, third in offensive yards, third in first downs, third in third down conversion. In 2020, the Tigers finished the year 22nd in the nation overall, 17th in both passing offense and first down offense. They had 5 games of 500 or more total yards. In his very first season with Memphis, they ranked among the top 20 nationally in 9 different offensive statistics. And throughout his 3 years at Memphis, Johns coached 9 players to 12 all AAC honors, including Calvin Austin III, Sean Dykes, and Dylan Parham. I mentioned he was at Texas Tech. In 2018, the Red Raiders offense ranked 4th in the country with over 350 yards per game, 12th with 485.2 total yards per game, and the Red Raiders averaged over 37 points, which of course isn't great when you compare it to the average of the Big 12, just 4th in the Big 12, but still it's a really big number. You could argue that conference was not real strong during that time period defensively, but still really impressive numbers. Johns was also at Western Michigan. They were a top 25 offense during his time there. I know he's credited Kevin Wilson with a lot of his development. The Hoosiers rewrote 54 school records during his time with Indiana, including season marks for points, total yards, passing yards, and rushing yards. And as I mentioned, he was also at Northwestern and spent some time at Richmond. So, pretty good resume when you check it out. I'd love to know how much Johns was involved in play calling versus game planning, schematics at not only Indiana, because I'm assuming he learned a lot under Kevin Wilson, as he's attested to, and at Texas Tech. I would have to think Cliff Kingsbury was really involved in play calling and was probably the play caller as the head coach, and certainly with quarterback development. But at Memphis, Johns was the quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator for several years, and he's been at Duke for the last couple of seasons. I will say this, Mike Elko is a defensive guy, all right? He played safety in college. He's a previous defensive coordinator. So the fact that Johns was coaching quarterbacks and coaching the offense, and I'm assuming calling plays, is probably a good sign. Like I said, Duke was not great offensively through the year this past year, but, I'm assuming he's learned a lot, and he's not an old guy. Just for the record, Johns is said to be 48 years old, and like I said, I was impressed with him and just hearing him speak about offense, speak about coaching. So those are the latest rumors. I honestly don't have anything substantial to share with you as it relates to who I think is going to be the next coordinator. Just going to have to wait and see. And if I hear something material, hear something substantial that I think is worthy of repeating, I will repeat it. I am no insider. I've said that before. When I get quote unquote inside information or scoops, I'm happy to share that information, but I'm not one to just toss mud at the wall and see if it sticks. Not saying other people do that often. I think some people do, but we'll wait and see. I do think we'll get a decision over the next week to maybe 9 days, somewhere in there, probably by the end of next week, which really is what, 8 days. So we'll see. But anyways, that's the latest scuttlebutt as it relates to offensive coordinator position. I've had a number of people reach out and wanted me to address those two candidates because apparently those are being talked about on a number of different websites, forums, message boards. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't say either would be a bad hire. I have some reservations about Luke Getsy because comparative to the rest of the NFL, those offenses at Chicago were not great, although the Bears have had problems for years offensively. And then I would also say about Kevin Johns, good resume, impressive resume. My only question mark is how much credit do you give to him for some of the success he had at Memphis? And certainly, how much was he involved with play calling and game planning at Indiana and at Texas Tech? And why didn't Mike Elko bring him to Texas A&M? That's a question mark. So, doesn't mean that Mike Elko didn't like Kevin Johns. And, why hasn't someone else hired him? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Kirk is working up against the clock a little bit here as we get closer to February. It's going to be, you're going to be gaining some candidates. Some people continue to become available as NFL teams make decisions. But I think basically by now, the field is what the field is. So Kirk's going to have to make a decision. I do think that's going to come in the coming days. Be sure to stay tuned, folks, because in just a second, future Iowa receiver KJ Parker, the Immaculate Conception High School Illinois native, will be joining the show to talk about his decision to sign with the Hawkeyes. Before we get to our interview with KJ, I want to remind everybody to sign up for a free trial of Aura. If you've not done this, use our /Hawkeyes. That's aura.com/Hawkeyes. The link for this is in our description below. You'll get a totally free trial and see how Aura can help you protect your information. Totally safe and very helpful for the future of your privacy, your information. www.aura.com/Hawkeyes for a free trial via our friends over at Aura and this show from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We have got Iowa signee KJ Parker with us. KJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, KJ. How are you?
Pretty good.
So congratulations. Big day for you. How does it feel to officially be a Hawk?
It's a really surreal feeling, every time I think about, becoming a Hawkeye, I just want to get down on campus and just because I love the campus so much, I can't wait to be down there,
So I'm curious as to your recruitment. Give us an idea of what your recruitment was like, the other schools that were involved, your background. Tell us a little bit about KJ Parker for those of us that don't know you personally.
For sure. So I grew up in Bellwood pretty much. My recruitment process started out with Iowa State was my first offer actually. And that was like the end of my sophomore year towards wintertime. I'll say like December, And my next offer that came in was Iowa. And the crazy thing about it is like when Iowa offered me, I kind of like looked past it, because I was itching for more offers and not knowing, what the opportunity I missed because I didn't give him a chance at first. So it was Iowa that offered me. Then more of my offers rolled in junior year. And as my junior year continued, I got offers from like Cincinnati, at the Wisconsin offer, Buffalo, a couple other schools. And, they just keep adding up. And Coach Bowen is my DB coach. So he was telling me, let's go down to Iowa. And when I went down there, I just loved the campus and the brotherhood and all the coaches. They showed me a bunch of love. And I came to realize they've been showing me love since my sophomore year, So that's what I truly loved about it.
All right, I got a question in the chat for you. This is from Tyler. He says, what would be a good comp, a good comparison that you'd like to model your game after? I guess we could take one from college or from the NFL. Do you have somebody that you emulate?
Yeah, I'll say like from what I heard, because I personally think I emulate as far as like, like a Garrett Wilson or like a Stephon. That's like who I can really see after.
Okay. So give us a little idea about some competition. What's competition like? Of course, you're out of Elmhurst, but can you kind of give us an idea of what competition is like in Elmhurst? And that's you're going up against a lot of good athletes in that area for people that don't know Illinois football.
Yeah, I would say, everybody has their great competition. Don't get me wrong. I feel like Illinois is pretty tough though. Going against, schools like, Marist, Loyola, and we're going against like 7A, 8A schools, and we're only a 3A program. And, it's very tough because being short on numbers, you know, your average varsity roster might be, maybe anything 100 and up, where we only have like 65 varsity kids going both ways, So I would say that's definitely more tough far as a disadvantage, but it's the competition is very tough though. And I say it's definitely one of the toughest in the states around.
All right, here's my toughest question of the day, KJ. So answer carefully. There's been a lot of talk about Iowa passing game, and the passing game has struggled of late. There's going to be a new offensive coordinator. Was there any question when the announcement was made regarding the change at OC? Was there any question about you staying committed to this, or was that even a factor?
I'm sorry. I got a phone call and it was interrupting there. I apologize. Can you repeat that one more time?
You're fine. I was just asking about the offensive coordinator change. So there's a change at that position. Was there any question about your devotion, commitment to Iowa when that announcement was had?
I believe it was a couple of concerns about it, but that still never changed anything. My love for Iowa is always going to be the same regardless, because how much the coaches show me love. I truly believe that they believe in me, and I'm allowing them to put their trust in me. So I'm still dedicated.
What do you, as far as your role at Iowa? Are you a guy that, given your size at 5'11", you're probably going to be a guy who lines up on the inside in the slot, or how versatile can you be in a passing game?
I say I'm really versatile. I play wideout at my school, and just to like the height comparison, we have Eric Carter, Texas A&M commit. He's 6'5", and he plays wideout. He plays tight end sometimes. So I say I can move around a lot, and I move from slot, to running back to anything. I even play QB a couple of times, but yeah, I can say I'm definitely very versatile when it comes to, any type of route.
When everybody talks about recruiting, and specifically at wide receiver and skill position spots, they want to know what a kid's 40 is, what their 100-meter time is. Can you give us an idea of your speed?
Yeah, I say I am pretty fast. I'm more of a top end speed guy. Yeah, a pretty good acceleration. My 40 time is it's a low 4.5, and my 100-meter dash last time I ran, it was a 10.89.
Okay,
yeah,
really specific. So you got those numbers in your back pocket.
Yeah, I do.
Are these measurements accurate? Are you still about 5'11", 165?
Yeah, I'm still about 5'11", 165. I recently just had a surgical process on my ankle, so I lost a couple pounds after surgery, but I'm back and good and healthy and starting training. So yeah, I'm about 165.
And your plans, I'm assuming that you'll be there in the summertime. Are you planning on enrolling early? What's your trajectory?
My plan is being there in the summertime. I'm gonna leave, in June. So yeah, that's what me and my parents plan on to do.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time, KJ. We're excited that you're part of this class, and obviously a position that is in need. And I'm sure you're aware that
Yes, sir.
oftentimes wide receivers can come in and play right away. So if you earn your spot, earn your role, you got an opportunity to be on the field early. And of course, opportunities always knocking on special teams. So KJ, appreciate you jumping on with us. And
thank you, man.
Congratulations on a big day, big moment in your life.
I appreciate it, man. You have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate KJ Parker joining the show. He is likely going to be, I think, a slot guy, an inside receiver. He certainly is no prototypical X, as we always hear. Reese Vanderzee is the other receiver in this class. He's a bigger guy, but they need someone to step up. Maybe it's Jacob Bostic, who's got some size. Maybe it's Dayton Howard, who came in from Kansas City this past season. It's easier for freshmen to play early. And here's a young man who signed with Iowa, and he knew about Brian Ferentz being fired. Now, did he know about Kelton Copeland being let go? We don't know. Copeland's been let go in recent weeks. It sounds like that decision was in the works for quite some time before. But whoever comes in to coach receivers alongside the future offensive coordinator better do a really good job because they've struggled with their wideouts for a long time, way too long. And they just need a lot of help, not only at quarterback, but at receiver. Appreciate you tuning in for another edition of the show. Please hit the like button. Be sure you're subscribed. Turn notifications on so you know when we're going live and posting more content. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.